The officers from the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries don't carry weapons, but they're the envy of many of their landlocked policing cousins. The government treats the job of regulating fishing in Australian waters very seriously. The officers have almost limitless powers at sea. They can board any vessel, and if they find breaches of regulations, can act immediately, confiscating the catch or equipment.
There's a lot of money in fish, and if anybody gets the opportunity to go and get easy money, they will. And our job is to make sure all the laws are regulated out there.
And they have the resources to back them up. High-powered cruisers are stationed up and down the New South Wales coast, equipped with advanced navigational and radar equipment. The department makes random checks several times a month, boarding boats up to 40 kilometres out to sea. Today's big swell made that impossible, so trawlers were targeted as they entered port with the night's catch. The fish are checked for type and size and the ice for cleanliness. The nets are measured to ensure the holes are neither too small or too large. Had this boat been in breach of any of the rules, the owner could have faced fines of up to $5,000, $10,000 if it's a company boat. Regional Inspector Greg Torby says increased patrols have dissuaded most from stretching the rules.
They don't know when we're going to come, or when we're going to go, or how long we're going to be out there for. And those factors all point toward a much cleaner fishery to what it could have been without us.
This was the statement that arrived in NBN's newsroom yesterday from State Shadow Minister for Transport Brian Langdon. It contained claims that the State Rail Authority was not paying its bills, and as a result a Newcastle engineering firm was owed more than $5 million in payments. It went on to say this major Tangara contractor is experiencing great difficulty in paying its subcontractors, adding that some of the accounts dated back several months. Claims that today drew an angry response from Guninan's chief, John Fitzgerald. He described the release as a complete untruth, saying under no circumstances had any payments been delayed. We took that back to the Shadow Minister and were met with an abrupt about-face. Mr Langdon's words were, "I'll back off then," though he did go on to assure us he considered his source extremely reliable because it came from within the Guninan's management. But it does seem at least some of Mr Langton's assertions were correct. Today, both Mr Fitzgerald and State Transport Minister Bruce Baird admitted they were having problems. Mr Fitzgerald, however, was unwilling to elaborate, other than to say discussions were being held. However, Mr Baird expanded with a statement saying that the SRA was in dispute with Guninan's over the contract and as a result had elected to withhold payments in accordance with the contract if the SRA was not satisfied. But the statement did stress that the dispute was not a question of quality or quantity of work, but purely a financial matter. Tracy Reid, NBN News. How was it?
Pretty good.
Any surprises?
No, not really.
It was a bit hard, but just glad it's over.
It's a bit rough.
Was it?
Yeah, but it was alright.
The HSC is becoming more popular. This year, the number of Hunter Region candidates topped the 4,000 mark, a 17% increase on last year's figures. Schools are now catering for a wider range of interests and abilities, a trend very clear in today's English paper.
Oh, well, I don't see how a shopping trolley has anything to do with life. I don't know. It's just, could not tell you. Shopping trolleys, wow, what a joke.
Yes, shopping trolleys were the main subject matter for the 2-unit general English paper. Prose, poetry and cartoons inspired by the humble shopping trolley were the vehicles to test reading and writing abilities. In the exam post-mortem at Newcastle High, Bemused students shared their interpretation of the trolley.
It's sort of like it's a social comment about humans unaware of the destruction they're causing to the earth.
The combined 2-unit, 3-unit exam stood by the more traditional subject matter, with half of the paper devoted to Othello.
Well, I thought it was quite good. The Othello question was really good, but it was pretty much we expected.
It's still early days for HSC candidates, with the second English paper scheduled for tomorrow. But for some, thoughts are already turning to more relaxing pursuits.
I prefer to do it something else, and I prefer to go surfing than do the HSC myself.
This is day 4 of Operation Long Haul. Today, 2 marked highway patrol vehicles are on the freeway, backed up by 2 camouflaged patrol cars. The system is simple. The unmarked cars, which we can't show you, can be any colour, make or model. They tip off the marked cars to traffic offences or breaches, but they don't stop the trucks. Instead, they move on to the next vehicle, leaving the paperwork to the uniformed police. Well, there are no prizes for guessing what model vehicle we're in, but so far we've been on the freeway for an hour, and police who've been monitoring CB radio say the truckies have no idea that we're out here. Phil, do you think this driver has any idea you're on his tail?
Nah, he's got no idea at all. I might get somebody to pull it over and check it out because the number plate's obliterated slightly and can't tell. I wouldn't be able to do a transport check on it. Anybody north of Cam's Wharf at all?
Winter's coming up behind you.
Yeah, I'm after a marked car, mate. I've got a trailer here with a 10th month label on it. I can't read the number plate properly. I'll get somebody to wheel him over.
So far, Operation Long Haul has resulted in 38 speeding fines, 13 to heavy vehicles and buses, 8 logbook offences and 46 other breaches. Police say the spotter cars take the randomness out of high-profile operations, and it's the only way to catch the cowboy truckies determined to outsmart police. But it's not just the truckies police are after.
Yeah, I've got a white Holden Commodore coming up through the S's. He's sitting behind what looks like a Pantech from the rear.
As more drivers are pulled over for infringements, the highly sophisticated Truckies CB network announces it suspects a hidden radar trap. Soon, all vehicles are travelling below the speed limit as word spreads. The truckies will eventually spot the spotters, but for the time being, the camouflage cars are doing the job. Police know there are some drivers you can't catch.
Regardless of what enforcements you have, you're always going to have that one idiot driver that manages to get through and kill somebody. While you've got drivers on the road that don't want to stick to the rules, we're going to be out here looking for them.
The Maitland show has traditionally been held in March and traditionally been wet. It has the remarkable record of coinciding with rain 17 out of the last 20 times.
And traditionally, the residents of Maitland look to the Maitland show as always breaking a drought or bringing rain.
Enough is enough, and this year organisers tempted fate by moving the event to October. Sure enough, Wednesday saw the heaviest falls in months. However, despite ominous clouds on Thursday, the rain stayed away. The move has changed the look of the show. Many of the rides are on the Victorian circuit and there's plenty of free space. But the show committee sees that as a plus.
Our overall intention is to create within the showground more open space, more green areas.
Not complaining either are the ride operators with a virtual monopoly on those who believe a show must be a gravity-defying experience. And it seems the masochistic bug bites very early. For the less adventurous, there's plenty of the traditional and a splash of the exotic amongst the machines. There's all the usual sights, smells and sounds.
Did I miss it?
And at last, an answer to that perpetual show question. What is fairy floss?
It's mainly just sugar and colouring.
Just sugar?
Yeah.
But don't try this at home. This year the emphasis is on the show's rural past. However, no matter how prominent centre ring becomes, the most enticing feature of the show will probably remain the chance for all to step back into childhood, if just for an afternoon.
It was 49 years ago yesterday that Italy declared war on Greece. At the Hamilton St. Demetrios Greek Orthodox Church, several hundred of the Hunter Valley's 8,000-member Greek community attended a commemorative Greek National Day service held by Archbishop Spiridon. Among them, a woman who remembers clearly that initial invasion.
I was there, and when the Italians attacked Greece, they asked us to surrender. It was terrible.
After the service, local dignitaries and leading members of the Greek community laid wreaths at the church's cenotaph. For Tighes Hill residents, this is one of their happiest moments in years. They've just been told that all vehicles weighing more than 5 tonne, except the school bus, are prohibited from driving through William and Lewis Streets. Both are major shortcuts for heavy vehicles travelling through Tighes Hill on Maitland Road to the industrial highway at Carrington. The Residents' Action Group's president summed up the mood of those celebrating.
They think it's absolutely brilliant. They are having, it's the best thing that's happened to them. They have less noise, the kids can go to and from school in safety, and that's the major problem, always has been. And they're just really thrilled to pieces now. Now they're going to plant trees all over the place and make it very beautiful, and it's just a great feeling. A lovely place to be, Tighes Hill.
Children began arriving as early as 6 o'clock to blow up balloons and decorate their street, which was also home once to Newcastle's first person.
Because I was born here in this shop across the road upstairs, and I learnt the violin with Errol Collins just around the corner. We used to practice in the School of Arts here, and I know what it's like for the noise of the trucks. You were practising up there, you couldn't hear yourself think when the trucks went by.
Ground visibility reached almost zero around 11 o'clock this morning when heavy smoke blanketed Mount White and covered the Sydney-Newcastle Pacific Highway. Northbound traffic was forced to a crawl and at one point came to a standstill. Some motorists diverted along the old Pacific Highway and police were advising drivers to postpone journeys between Sydney and Newcastle. Bushfire brigades began dropping incendiary capsules to ignite bushland south of Mount White before the major fire could reach those areas. At one time, fire touched the edge of the Pacific Highway. Brigades say the fire bombing and abating winds helped them to control the blaze. Traffic is now flowing freely again in both directions and visibility is clear.
Launched today at City Hall, the United Nations Community Link Enterprise, or UNCLE, will effectively focus the attention of the world on Newcastle. A world first, it's the United Nations bid to strengthen aid to refugees. The UN recognised it could no longer carry the burden of supporting such schemes without community help, so it began a search worldwide for the right city to launch the UNCLE project. According to Dr. Robin Groves, External Affairs Director for the UN's High Commissioner for Refugees, there was none better than Newcastle.
We'd heard very good things about Newcastle, its tradition of compassion, its resilience, its extraordinary performance in the Million Minutes for Peace campaign in 1986.
The village that Newcastle has adopted is Ban Nam Thong, a tiny community in the northern highlands of Laos, which was devastated by the Indo-China conflict.
We're going to come back with a very, very concrete list of what the returning refugees need to get their lives back into shape. Clean water, a medical facility, a hospital, a teacher, some school books. We're going to give that information to the people of Newcastle and say, is there one of these things, just one, that without big sacrifices you or your family or your class at school or your shift of workers at work could take on?
As well as the support of the UN and Newcastle civic leaders, the project has also engaged the help of another high-profile figure, that of actor Jack Thompson. Now the Commissioner's Goodwill Ambassador, Thompson has taken the project under his wing. In 2 weeks, he'll leave for Thailand to shoot a documentary on the move of the villagers from their refugee camp back to their hometown, an effort he hopes the people of the Hunter will find inspiring.
This is something not only that I can do, but that every one of us in the community can do something about.
Smoky Dawson is a living legend. He started singing at the outbreak of World War I, and today he's still going strong. Most people would remember Smoky's radio program of the 50s, where his now famous animal impersonations first originated. For Smoky, the key to life is happiness, and he sells this recipe wherever he goes. Thousands of children who joined Smoky's riding school or became deputy sheriffs of his club will never forget him or his horse Flash. Smoky still tells the same stories as he told 30 years ago with the same enthusiasm. And although his deputy sheriffs are now a little older, they still enjoy the man and his music.